The face of a teen terrorist. He ran away from home at 14 to join terror ranks. His family is now running from pillar to post, hoping he surrenders before he becomes a hardcore terrorist and is neutralized by security forces. This is the face of a teen terrorist. Look at the transformation from a young boy, a budding cricketer. He's now a terrorist. Security forces are hunting for him. His family running from pillar to post. So first they burnt schools and then they got children out on the streets to pelt stones. They want children to pick up the gun and take on security forces in Pakistan's state-sponsored terror in the Kashmir Valley. But that is not all. Exclusive images on India First of the army battling Pakistani terrorists at the line of control. This is an India Today exclusive. It's the Uri sector along the line of control. The army has killed 5 terrorists in the past 96 hours in a series of operations along Uri, Machil, Naugam. 13 Pakistani terrorists continues to give cover fire to terrorists. There have been 6 ceasefire violations south of Pir Panjal. The National Investigation Agency has questioned Hurriyat hardliner Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani's son-in-law Altaf Shah in connection with terror funding in the valley. 26 raids were carried out by the National Investigation Agency after the India Today sting operation. The Hurriyat truth tapes on Pakistan funding terror, unrest and separatists in the Kashmir Valley. Altaf Shah is a businessman. He's based in Srinagar. He's been on the radar of the security forces after India Today's Hurriyat truth tapes sting operation. After the sting operation, the NIA had grilled separatist leaders both in Srinagar and in Delhi. I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu for the latest on the story. Kamal, take us through the details of the NIA investigations and the questioning of Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani's son-in-law.
Well, Gaurav, sources tell us that the Altaf has been in Delhi for quite some time, that he's been regularly called in for questioning. He's been probed about terror funding. He's about source of funding. He's also been questioned about details which have been recovered from laptop, from CDs, from hard evidences. And that is the line of questioning that they've been taking, seeking clarification from him. Remember, this comes in a series of questioning which has been done on Pita Karate, Javed Ghazi Baba, as well as Naeem Khan. So killing them was not enough, and we know that there were multiple raids which were carried out on businessmen, including Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani's son-in-law. The probe will lead to certain crucial details. We've also been told the NIA at this point of time is waiting for forensic report to come in from the search in. Once those details are out, there will be further cross-questioning, but obviously pressure mounting on separatists as of now.
Okay, so there is pressure mounting. Investigations have been carried out. Do we now have details about where this funding came from, how funding was happening, where were funds being used, and how were they being used for anti-India operations, for stone pelting, to fund terror? Do we have any details in public domain just as yet?
Gaurav, there are multiple cases regarding terror funding. There was one case against Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani, which is still a preliminary inquiry. There's one case of the Hawala transaction money. That is the case which has been going on since 2011. It was early investigated by the special cell of Delhi Police, which was later transferred in May 2011 itself to NIA. So the investigation has been going on for quite some time. There were 2 arrests, we've been told by our sources, which was made then. But remember, joining the dots is going to be one of the challenges. Okay. There has to be forensic evidence. There has to be money which has to be linked, which is coming across from Pakistan. We've been used, the modus operandi was very simple, that for money as little as 5,000 rupees, there was a human courier which was sent. Who are those people? Whether they will be able to track down, there has to be corroborative evidence, and that is why it is going to take quite some time. But more than that, there has to be interrogation, a sustained interrogation. And remember, the likes of Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani, who have not been questioned just as of now, will be interrogated. Details and obviously revelations are made in the CDs. And the hard documents, including pen drives, including other documentation, which are being excessively examined at this point of time by the NIA.
Okay. Keep tracking that story, Kamal. I will come back to you for more. For the moment, many thanks. Now, Pakistan is not just resorting to ceasefire violations at the line of control and the international border in some instances in the past, but it's targeting the valley's youth, indoctrinating them, not just through WhatsApp groups, Facebook messages, but peer pressure. A 14-year-old, a budding cricketer in the Kashmir Valley, was indoctrinated enough to make him join the Lashkar-e-Taiba. His family wants him back. They've been running from pillar to post, desperately seeking intervention of the security forces that he's made to come on ground, he's made to surrender before he's neutralized in anti-terror operations. India Today's Pooja Shali, she travelled to South Kashmir's Pulwama to get us this India First exclusive.
Of a teen terrorist. He ran away from home at 14 to join terror ranks. His family is now running from pillar to post, hoping he surrenders before he becomes a hardcore terrorist and is neutralized by the security forces.
फिर फेसबुक पर फोटो आया उसका।
अच्छा।
हमने देखा उस फोटो को। फौज ने बताया, उसको बोला सिलेंडर करो। अभी तो टाइम है,
बच्चा है छोटा है।
अभी तो छोटा बच्चा है, हम कहाँ से लाएंगे उसको? उसके हाथ में भी बंदूक है।
For the first time, his terrified family has come forward to speak about him, and this sheds light on overground workers of terror groups brainwashing youth of the valley. India Today travelled to village Lelhar in South Kashmir's Pulwama. We spoke to the family of a 14-year-old budding cricketer who left school to join Lashkar-e-Taiba.
When this young boy decided to choose militancy, he was not even 14 years old. And today, the family says they were completely clueless as to what exactly went wrong. Why would a boy so bright during his school days and really great at the sport, especially of cricket, chose a path that went so wrong?
Posters and banners are put up outside school eulogizing terrorists. Terror slogans are painted on walls and young students are under tremendous peer pressure to either pelt stones or join terrorist groups.
मैंने उसे ये भी कहा कि आज तो हड़ताल है पुलवामा, आज नहीं जाना है। उसने कहा कि हमें ज़रूर जाना है, आज हमें टेस्ट है। तो बाप ने दिया है उसको 70-80 रुपया दिया है। अपनी माँ को कहा उसने, अगर देर हो गया हमको फिक्र मत करिए।
Last winter, terrorists and their support structure burned down over 3 dozen schools in the valley. Schools were burned down in central and South Kashmir. The aim clearly was to force children into stone pelting. Students are not just being used to pelt stones but also to disrupt security forces and help terrorists escape during anti-terror operations. Some children as young as 10 are under tremendous peer pressure to either pelt stones or join terror ranks. The security forces have started massive anti-terror operations to neutralize hardcore terrorists and are reaching out to families, relatives and friends to get misguided youth to stop pelting stones, abandon the path of terror and join the national mainstream.
The question is, what is the government of the state and the union government planning to take up as a strategy to make sure at least the young boys do not take up this radicalized path?
With Pooja Shali in Pulwama, Bureau Report, India Today.
India Today's Pooja Shali now joins me with the latest on the story. So Pooja, here is the story of a youngster who was a budding cricketer. Yes. So he could have well become one day somebody who was playing for Team India. How did he start playing for Team Lashkar-e-Taiba?
Well, very interestingly, the family also was completely clueless, but they did say that probably it was because of social media, because eventually they found out via pictures on social media, on Facebook and other sites, that he has picked up the gun. and he was very budding not only as a cricketer but as a good student. So the question is, are these terrorist groups reaching out to these young children via probably somebody at school, at colleges, on the streets? If the family is so clueless, who really is to be blamed then? Because he was not even 14 years old when he left, and now there's no coming back. The family is trying to track him down, but they know fairly well that once he's seen with the gun, forces are tracking him down. Will he ever come back?
And that's the threat, because here was a 14-year-old who was bright in his studies, who was a good cricketer, was playing at zonal level, you say, and suddenly, one day, he left the willow and picked up the assault rifle. What changed? What transpired? Do we have those details either from friends or a police tracking him? Because now I believe the family is desperately getting the army and the police to somehow get him to talk, surrender, perhaps go to jail, but join the mainstream instead of being neutralized in an anti-terror operation.
Well, that's important, because the family via us has also reached out, asked him to surrender, which clearly means, were there people around him? Was there a peer pressure? Was there some sort of indoctrination through Facebook, WhatsApp? Because I can tell you that the family was consistently aware of the fact that WhatsApp and other these applications are constantly in touch with the children, which means there could be something that would have got into this child's head, who was not even 14 when he became a militant.
So he's become a terrorist. He's a gun-wielding terrorist now. As far as the security forces are concerned, in case they spot him, they'll try and get him to surrender. If he doesn't surrender, they will neutralize him. That's the kind of anti-terror operations that are currently underway. So there is a pattern to this. Schools are being burned down so that children don't have schools to go to. An empty mine's a devil's workshop. You get them to pelt stones, or worse, pick up the gun. And once they've picked up the gun and they've been photographed with that gun, there is no way they can come back, because then they've crossed the line.
That is the attempt, to once make sure that they're indoctrinated enough to be able to pick up that weapon, to see that as an avenue, which means the forces are trying to bring other avenues, whether it is entertainment, whether it is sports, whether it is studies, so that the children can be diverted there and not give the terrorists probably a loophole to pick up the weapon, because there is a peer pressure and the family is also facing a lot of stress. The family is facing that pressure, and probably it is now up to the government to reach out, because one last point, the forces are saying 100 to 200 militants have already joined ranks. These are young people. Already 2 to 3 teenagers, young teenagers, are also heading that way. It is in many ways a matter of concern in Kashmir.
Okay. So Pooja will continue to track that story. For the moment, many thanks for joining me. I now want to shift focus and take you to the line of control, where Pakistan continues to provoke India. Fresh incidents of ceasefire violations have been reported in Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, one was reported just half an hour ago in South Kashmir, in south of Pir Panjal. A Hizbul module, a Hizbul Mujahideen module has also been busted in Handwara. So there is twin pressure that's coming the security forces way. We bring you this report. Provocations from across the line of control continue unabated. Pakistani troops violated ceasefire at the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir again, targeting Indian posts in Poonch, Krishna Ghati, Rajouri and Naushera. Ceasefire violations have seen a surge after the visit of Pakistan Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa to the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Responding to Pakistan's provocations, the security forces are giving a befitting reply.
What is different now, and what makes all the difference also, is that the kind of retaliatory action which is happening from the Indian side was not witnessed for years together. And that is something which the people living in the border areas also bear testimony to.
Pakistan, however, plays the victim card. It summoned India's Deputy High Commissioner J.P. Singh to lodge a protest over ceasefire violations. In the past 1 week, there's been an intense effort by Pakistan Army to push in infiltrators into Jammu and Kashmir. But the army has been successful in foiling all these infiltration bids. 13 infiltrators have been killed at the line of control in North Kashmir in the past 96 hours. India Today has accessed the video of Army's operations against infiltrators near the line of control in the Uri sector. In the video, security forces can be seen engaged in a fierce gunfight with terrorists. Meanwhile, in a major success for security forces, in the valley. A Hizbul Mujahideen module was busted in North Kashmir's Handwara. 2 terrorists were arrested in a joint operation by the Jammu and Kashmir police and the army.
The J&K police has come up with interesting details on how they busted this Hizbul Mujahideen module in Handwara today. As per the details, it was a cyber security team of the police which were constantly monitoring their social media activities and also looking at their telephonic conversations. And finally, when the raids were conducted, 2 Hizbul Mujahideen operatives were arrested from Handwara, and later on, subsequently, 2 more men were arrested from other locations. They are believed to be the OGWs for this module. The police department is terming this a significant catch. With Ashwini Kumar in Jammu, Shujaul Haq in Srinagar for India Today.
And I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Shujaul Haq for the latest on the story. So Shuja, what more do we know of these 2 Hizbul Mujahideen terrorists who've been arrested and the overground workers who've also been held?
Well, Gaurav, like I was pointing out, it has been termed as a successful operation and a big catch by the J&K police. Basically, what we've been told by our sources is that the importance of busting this module, there are 2-3 points that the police is considering. One, they're looking at it as a module which was also responsible for attracting for youth towards Hizbul Mujahideen and setting up a base in Handwara. They are also figuring out details of their links with the other modules which were working perhaps in the vicinity. So all of it put together, this has been termed as an important catch. As well as the militants, both of them are believed to be locals. They're local boys who have been, who had a lookout notice on them for quite some time. And the fact that they've been arrested, not killed in the encounter is something that will go a long way. In benefiting the security forces in conducting more operations.
Okay. Keep tracking the story. For the moment, Shujaul Haq, many thanks. This is an India Today exclusive. The army has come up with a new plan to de-radicalize stone pelters and troublemakers in the Kashmir Valley. Top sources in the army have told India Today that they are now proposing a Bharat Darshan for troublemakers and stone pelters. So, hardcore pelters and ringleaders of these groups are being identified for de-radicalization. So one possibility was that you pick them up, lock them up. That will spoil their careers, that will spoil their future. So now they will be de-radicalized. The army will identify these youths, they will speak to them, they will take them for a national integration tour. The youth will be taken to companies like Tata and Infosys to know about India's growth story. The youth will be taken across the length and breadth of this country to know the real India. The identified youth will also be shown how temples, mosques, churches and gurdwaras peacefully coexist across India. So the aim is to wean them away, not just from stone pelting, prevent them from joining terror ranks, but also ensure that they don't fall for false propaganda dished out by Pakistan and Pakistan-sponsored ecosystem in the Kashmir Valley. So the aim is to stop them from joining terror ranks. The army is also intensifying skill development and professional training courses for students across the Kashmir Valley. I quickly want to cut across to editor Shiv Arur for more on the story. Shiv, bring us details. Do we have details of what the army's plan is? Because they've had an Op Sadbhavna that's been on for quite some time. Children's school students especially were brought to Delhi and shown the rest of the country for over a decade now. How is this one different?
Well, Gaurav, as your sources have been telling you, the army, has a huge plethora of activities in Jammu and Kashmir where they're trying to, bring misguided youth, stone pelters, people who want to get into militancy, terrorism, to get into the mainstream and see the rest of India. Operation Sadbhavna has been very, very successful. Now, this particular proposal takes things even a step further, where they've invited, a whole bunch of identified stone pelters and miscreants, apparently, to undertake, a Bharat Darshan, to go visit Mumbai, visit Delhi, visit Bengaluru as well, go see the campuses of Infosys and Tata, perhaps to tell them, a story of India's growth and India's prosperity, and how the things that many of these youth are lured into doing in Jammu and Kashmir leave them with no real future, and how they should try and be part of the India story, because that will be of greater benefit to them and their families than fighting for this so-called Azadi. So in that sense, this is a proposal by the Indian Army over the last many years.
Oh, absolutely. This has been on for several years now, but this time they're going in for the troublemakers. But there are troublemakers not just in the Kashmir Valley. There appears to be a concerted effort to take down the army chief. First, there were sections of these so-called intellectuals who compared the army chief to General Dyer. Now you have a senior Congress leader and a former MP who called him a street thug. And then you have this Communist Party that's also joining in, saying, why is the army chief speaking? Let's take a look at how there appears to be a concerted effort.
A person like Amit Shah makes a statement about Mahatma Gandhi. I think that merits far more attention, than what a person like Sandeep Dixit says. And I'm sad that is something we have not taken, because I think if Amit Shah rethinks about what he said, comes out and says what he said is wrong and apologizes, it will send a good message to the nation and to the international community.